Alright, now we have the tech installment of my Awakening Gem guide, and this class is the High Sig class because, oh my gosh, so many up arrows, man. Just so many, High Sig needed characters. But, yeah, a very interesting class. We have the usual categories of generic worthy, class worthy again, but, not the highest priority. Then we have the defensive abilities, as well as the good champions, but just okay signature abilities. And then we have the fun investments, and then the do not bother tier, which is not listed here. But first, a key for the icon. So the up arrow means that high sig is either wanted or needed, and they just get a big benefit from having a high signature level. And the shield icon is, if this champion is awakened, they become a lot more valuable on defense, right? So just gives them great defensive value. And now let's talk about the generic worthy characters. So first up is Ghost, and Ghost is obviously just worth a generic gem. Her Awakened ability just lets her become an insanely fast champion because whenever she phases, she gets increased power gain, or she gets a burst of power, right? So this just lets her get to the SP2 very fast, and that SP2 is just the moneymaker, right? Be warned though, she does require some skill, she is not the easiest champion to learn, so just be aware with that, but once you learn her, she is 100% worth a generic gem and high sig. Now we have Nimrod, and Nimrod is the complete opposite. This man is just so easy to play, and he just gets a massive benefit from being awakened. So what his does is, he gets +1 armor up when going against mutant champions, which is just very, very good. It makes him insane for mutant champions, and additionally, he gets increased passive effect duration and also buff duration as well, which is just very good. You will not realize how good it is until you have him at high sig. His high sig is just so valuable, and sig 1 to sig 200 is a massive difference. So I would absolutely give him a gem, and I would give him a ton of sigs as well. And next up is one of the newest champions in this game, Future Ant-Man, and Future Ant-Man has been making waves already. He is such a strong champion, and his Awakened ability is just so good. So what it does is, it reduces the duration of bleed and incinerate effects by up to, I think, 80 or 85%, which is very, very strong. Additionally, it gives him this crazy strong safeguard mechanic. So what it does is, whenever you would take 10% of your maximum health, it gets capped and he regens up to 5% of it back, which is just crazy strong, right? That is a very good ability to have. And this makes him very strong on defense. It is great for some nodes in the attack spectrum, and it just does a lot for him, right? So I feel this ability is so good because it just gives him a lot of value on both attack and defense. Does want high sig though for the DOT duration reduction, but once he is high sig, he is just a monster and a half. Now the class worthy champion. So first up we have Stark and Hint Spider-Man. And Stark Spidey has just really redeemed himself as of recently. He is one of the best battlegrounds attackers in the game, flat out. He just has so much versatility, and he's just such a strong champion. And I feel that is mainly due to his Awakened ability. So what it does is, for each poise charge, you get a massive burst of crit rating. I think it's up to 800 per, which is up to 8,000 at max sig. And at low sig, it's up to 4,000, which is still a ton, right? So it just does a lot for him damage-wise. And also gives him some block efficiency whenever he's below 50% health. But the important part is, the crit rate is just massive for him. So yeah, great Awakened ability there. And now we have one of the newest champions, really, really new, Lady Deathstrike, and she has been so good, man. I feel she is a powerhouse, especially on attack, and her Awakened ability gives her a lot of nice benefits. So first off, her passive armor ups get increased, an increased cap, right? And this increased cap lets her do more damage on her ruptures, and additionally, while on ferocity, her ruptures get increased potency as well per armor up. So it just does a lot for her, to be honest, and it just makes her very strong, especially in the higher end matchups. So very sweet Awakened ability here. And now we have Guardian. Guardian is still just fantastic, man. He hasn't aged a bit. He is still just super strong. And his Awakened ability gives him a lot of nice benefits. It gives him some energy res. It gives him some massive bleed reduction as well as some crit damage res and some block proficiency. So overall, just a lot of nice things to help him out. and it just makes him a lot more tankier, a lot more like utility packed with the energy res and the bleed res also. And last but not least is Ultron, and Ultron I feel like is still pretty dang solid, and his awakened ability gives him a very nice benefit as well. It gives him minus 80% incinerate and shock duration, which is just crazy because he's already bleed and poison immune, right? So having those two as well makes him pretty much quadruple immune, which is just super strong, man. And additionally gives him some absorption versus energy attacks, so like against some very certain matchups he can just cheese it so well. So yeah, Ultron just a very solid champion, and his awakened ability gives him some very nice DOT reduction. Next up is Hulkbuster, and Hulkbuster gets a pretty nice benefit. He gets a massive regen, and this just lets him be a very solid quester. And besides that, he also gets some nice attack rating while he has his regen up. So overall, pretty dang sweet, and just makes him a very good quester. Next up is a new champion, Viv Vision. And Viv Vision is pretty interesting. I feel like she is pretty decent, but to get like the most out of her, she wants to be max sig. Just like 1000% max sig. And her awakened ability gives her these energy vulnerabilities, right? And when you cash them out completely, they last for a pretty long time, and they give her a lot of extra damage. So it really does help her for sure on the damage end. So you really want to have this maxed out for sure. And next up is Iron Man Infamous. Now this guy becomes very annoying on defense because his regen scaling is terrible. It is just so high on defense especially. And this lets him just regen so much health, and additionally, he special locks the opponent when they when he has the regen up, which is just super annoying, right? And also gives him some nice block efficiency. And honestly, this isn't in the defense category because the regen is just very solid for questing, and also he stops unblockable while the aura of Iron is up, which is just a very strong ability there on the attack spectrum. So yeah, Iron Man Infamous, pretty good champion, pretty good awakened ability as well. Next up is Shocker, who is getting a buff, and his signature ability just lets him contend in battlegrounds. I feel like what it does is it refunds up to all of his power on his first SP1, and his SP1 is used to build up his shock charges, and these just let him, cash in for that big heavy attack. So if you want to use him in a competitive way, you want him max sig for sure, and it just lets him, be pretty dang fast in like those battlegrounds health pools. He additionally removes prowess with this ability, so it is pretty good overall. And yeah, if you want to use him, definitely consider awakening him and giving him a lot of signature stones. Now last but not least is Rocket Raccoon, and this guy is pretty dang sweet. His awakened ability is like a Warlock-esque mechanic where whenever the opponent is armor broken, he heal blocks them passively and also gives them a permanent power drain, so he becomes just crazy good with it, man. It is such a nice utility bonus, and it just gives him a lot more to work with, to be honest. But yeah, if you don't have Warlock or you don't like Warlock, then Rocket Raccoon has a great investment potential, and overall just a very nice signature ability that is definitely worth investing into. And speaking of Warlock here, we have the defensive signature abilities, and I feel like these are class worthy if you want some more defense. So first up is Warlock. And Warlock gets a pretty nice degen whenever he power drains the opponent, and this just makes him very annoying on defense. I have a rank 5 max sig Warlock, and he always just is a nightmare to deal with. Like, he's just really dang annoying, and that degen just really adds up. It just is a lot of damage output, to be honest. So yeah, if you want defense, Warlock when awakened is quite the annoying defender. Next up, Iron Man Infinity War, and this guy is pretty dang annoying to deal with on defense. When he's like awakened and ideally high sig, he just gets so much power gain, and he is so annoying to finish off. So yeah, Iron Man, if you want a defender, this guy is a great investment. Though there definitely are a lot more counters now, he is still pretty dang annoying, I feel like. And last but not least is Mysterio. This guy is still a massive pain. As a 7-star, he is pretty annoying still, but when he's a 6-star awakened and max sig, he is just a nightmare, because if you don't armor break him, he just gets so much gas. Like, it is just so annoying to deal with because his specials are based off of his like gas charges, right? So he just gets a lot more annoying to deal with, and if you want a defender, Mysterio is definitely a great option, I feel like. Now we have the fun investments, and yeah, this is quite a lot of fun to have here because there are 12 champions. So first up is Star-Lord, and Star-Lord just gets, you know, his usual massive attack rating increase per combo hit. It is a fun time, but Star-Lord has really fallen off as a champion, I feel like. Next up is Sam Wilson, who is pretty dang sweet. I think he is a very fun champion, and when he's awakened, he gets a very nice attack rating increase whenever he is locked on, and is just a pretty solid champion overall, but just not as good as, you know, the usual top dogs. Next up is Dr. Octopus, who gets some very nice power steal, some life steal as well, and it's just a very solid champion when awakens, and honestly just deserves a bit more credit in my opinion. Next up is Darkhawk, who honestly is very fun, however has fallen off for sure. Does want high sig, but when he's high sig, he's honestly pretty dang sweet. It's just that his SB3 mode takes a while to get to, and he really just is lacking utility, but still very fun to play. Next up is Vulture, who gets a pretty nice benefit. He gets his max charges, which help him a lot with his armor breaks and his power control as well. And overall, Vulture is quite the sleeper champion. I know a lot of people that love the character, some people just don't care about him, but he is pretty dang fun to play. So yeah, Vulture, nice awakening ability for sure. Now we have Yondu here, and Yondu gets a pretty nice benefit whenever he is awakened. When the opponent drops a special attack, per debuff on them, they get a weakness debuff, and this weakness debuff really does add up and he becomes a lot more tankier, and he is just a pretty cool character, pretty solid as well, to be honest. He's kind of like a budget Nimrod in a sense, but yeah, pretty sweet champion. And now we have Sentinel here, and Sentinel is pretty dang good, I feel like. I think he still has a lot of value, especially if you're progressing. And when he's awakened, he just gets a lot of benefit because he gets his charges a lot faster. So yeah, overall, Sentinel, pretty good character still, and just very nice to awaken. Now, Punisher 299 is very cool, and when he's awakened, he gets extra battery at the start of the fight, which is a great help for him, and also gets this cool power lock ability as well. But overall, just there are a lot better of investments, and he's still very fun to play, but just has fallen off a bit for sure. Next up is Silver Centurion, and this guy is insanely fun, and a bit of like something to note here, he does want high sig, and he is pretty dang stressful as well. But yeah, overall, just a pretty nice character. And next up is War Machine, and this guy gets a pretty decent benefit. He gets a nice regen, but that's really about it. And honestly, because he's a 7-star, I wouldn't really recommend that you awaken him, but he's still a nice investment if you want to have some fun. Now we have both Visions here, and both Visions have differing abilities. Age of Ultron Vision gets a very nice power steal whenever he's awakened, and it really just does help him keep his power control in, like, you know, control. Additionally, there is a Classic Vision who gets this synthesis mechanic, right? And it gives him power over time. Age of Ultron Vision is a bit better though, because there is more control to his signature ability. But yeah, they both hit like 3-star characters as rank 5, 6 stars. So yeah, they're just, I don't know. And now we have these amazing champions that just really do not need to be awakened. First up is Penny Parker here, who gets a very nice heal block and this one ability that lets her counter Nick Fury. And honestly, besides those two things, it really just isn't necessary, and she is still a powerhouse without it. It is just pretty niche, and it's just pretty okay, to be honest. Shuri here can block unblockable special attacks and also get some extra perfect block chance. So overall, not too bad, but really just very minimal for an already great champion. So I wouldn't really suggest that you awaken her. Next up is Omega Sentinel, who gets some pretty nice benefits. She gets like extra armor ups whenever she drops a special attack. She also gets some nice energy res. And that's really about it. It's just nothing too major for an already great champion, and she can just really live without it. So yeah, overall, it's just decent. Nebula here gets some extra power rate whenever the opponent is shocked, which is decent, and also gets some benefits to her self-repair buffs, but overall, it's just very, like, not too good. Like, it's just decent, right? And next up we have Howard the Duck here, whose awakening ability is pretty okay. It lets him counter Domino and Apocalypse, but like those are 2 characters out of a ton. And it just really, I don't know, it just doesn't feel too worth investing into because it really just is for those 2 champions. So overall, I just wouldn't invest into it for sure. It just really is okay. And last but not least is Guillotine 2099, who's also a 7-star champion. This lets her get a combo shield and also gives her a damage cap as well. It is pretty good for like, you know, a progressing player, but honestly, you can live without it. There are other ways to get her a combo shield just by doing a heavy attack. So you really do not miss out on much. It is just decent, right? And I just would not bother with these characters. They just do not get the biggest benefit, or they just are very, very not good. So yeah, I don't know. These guys, just do not bother with them. If you really like them, then why not, right? But if otherwise, I just wouldn't. And yeah, the tech list is now complete. The tech class is great for Awakenings. There are a lot of great options here. Let me know your thoughts on this list, and yeah, that's about it for me.